Yo, what is up? Karma here, back with another Borderlands 3 video. Today we will be going over the newly buffed weapons in Borderlands 3. So if you found this video informative in any way, a like rating is appreciated, and if you want to sub for more content, that'll be great as well. Starting off with the Magnificent Pistol. This one can be farmed from Jabbermogwai at the Voracious Canopy. Let's be honest, this pistol has never been good. It has always been the least magnificent pistol in the game. Today, this weapon received a 200% increase to its damage, and I used it today and I was actually doing pretty well. Still far from performing like the light show, but I did notice it was doing a very good job. I also noticed that I relied on using artifacts and class mods that boosted pistol damage and weapon damage for it to really shine, but in my opinion, it is now in a much better place and I definitely recommend you give it a try. Next up, we have the Mother 2. This is a TDR SMG that drops from Slithermaw at the Blast Plains for DLC number 3. I'm gonna be honest, I never used this weapon before today, but it did receive a 200% increase in damage. When thrown, it creates these drones that shoot a beam down that damages and follows enemies around. As I used this weapon, I did notice it was doing some work at times, but when it came to badass enemies, it was definitely struggling a little bit. Moving on to the Devoted. This one drops from Broodmother at the Pyre of Stars. The Devoted is honestly now really good. It received a 275% increase in damage, and as I used it, it did feel pretty decent. It does burn through ammo quite a bit, so that would be my only complaint. Also, if you're not matching elements with this weapon, it does feel a little weak. Moving on, we have the Roisens Thorn. This one drops from Princess Tarantella at the Splinterlands. It received a 53% increase in damage. This weapon used to be very decent back in Mayhem 4, I do remember using it, but it kinda lost its touch when it reached Mayhem 2.0. I tested this weapon with the buff and it was doing some decent work. Granted, I was using modes with splash damage, but it did feel really strong. It's almost comparable to the Craps pistol. I definitely recommend you give it a try now that it's been buffed. Then we have the 10 gallon. This one dropped from Genevieve at the Voracious Canopy and it received a 100% increase to its damage. This weapon was honestly not too bad anymore depending on what parts you got for it. I used it today and it was doing a pretty decent job. I wasn't using any equipment benefiting this weapon, so I can only imagine what it would do if I actually had class mod and artifact passives that benefit this weapon. Next up, we have the Smart Gun, which drops from Giga Chad at the Meridian Metroplex. This one received a 250% increase to its damage, and honestly, it was doing some decent work. Keep in mind, this weapon is corrosive damage, and it was still doing a decent job against shielded enemies. If you throw an army of those spider brains running around, you can actually kill a ton of enemies pretty quickly. That being said, I still wish it was a little stronger. And finally, for the last weapon buff, we have the Webslinger. This one drops from Scourge at the Guardian Takedown, and it received a 250% increase to its damage. It had already been buffed a few months ago, but it still wasn't performing very well. Now with this buff, it was definitely putting in some work, but I believe it still needs a little bit more of a push, at least in my opinion. I mean, the gameplay looks pretty neat, but that's just because I was using a URAD flag build for this one, which obviously makes weapons look a lot better than they actually are. I do believe though, like I said, that I need this weapon to have more of a damage increase to use it on Amara, for example. But anyways guys, that's gonna do it for this week's buffs. Let me know what you all think about them, and I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, a like rating is appreciated, and if you want to sub for more content, that'll be great as well. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.